Alright, so we got a truly crazy chapter here. We're finding out a bunch of things. First of all, we're finding out, like, Imu's big secret. We're finding out who potentially Shanks' freaking father is. We're finding out how everyone escaped the Reverie. We're also finding out what the weapon was that destroyed Lelusia. We're also seeing the rest of the Seraphims. So much going down in this chapter. Really incredible. Almost a 10 out of 10. So let's just get straight into it. So the opening of this chapter is coming off of the end of the previous one, where we're coming off of the death of Cobra. And we saw that Wapol and Vivi were escaping the Reverie, busting through walls and whatnot, escaping CP0 and the Gorosei and Imu. And now we're getting the connective tissue of how they wound up with Morgan's, on his news blimp. And apparently they were able to sneak into one of the ships of one of the kings that was leaving, the Aegis kingdom. And Wapol was able to contact Morgan's through a Denden Mushi and told them where they were, and then they just came and picked them up. And also, it's not being revealed if Wapol is telling Morgan's about Imu or not, which I don't think he is, because Wapol's not stupid. He's not going to, tell Morgan's that, oh, hey, somebody sits on the empty throne, which is, he already is afraid of for his life. That's why he left in such a panic. So he's basically just telling them that they tried to kill, or they did kill, Cobra. And then, of course, Morgan's just wound up saying that Sabo did it for the clickbait and also for the good graces of the world government. So then we're also seeing Sabo stowing away on a ship as well, escaping from the Reverie, and he was on the Lelusia Kingdom's ship. So that makes sense as to how he wound up at Lelusia, after it was blown up. But we're also seeing Sabo is mortally wounded here. I mean, obviously he winds up surviving, but he was stabbed by one of the Gorosei's Zhoniin transformation tails when he had Cobra on his back. So this really messed him up, and I guess this is also confirming that the Gorosei does have Haki. Like, they could use Haki, because Sabo obviously has the Marimaro no Mi, the Flame Logia fruit, so you have to have Haki in order to stab him like this. So I think this just fully confirms that the Gorosei are in fact straight up beasts. Not only do they have crazy devil roots, but they are probably Haki masters as well. And at least one of them has a heavily implied to be Supreme Great Sword in Samurai Gandhi with the Shodai Kitetsu. But speaking of the Gorosei, we're getting their names and identities in this chapter as well. So we already knew that one guy was Saint Garcia Saturn, but we're also finding out that he is the god of scientific defense, which makes sense because, he went to go to Egghead to kill Vegapunk, which is actually not defending science, it's actually killing science, but they are hypocritical in their ways too. But as for them being referred to as gods here, or military gods in the one translation that I'm reading, I don't think they're literally like gods, like Thor and Loki or something like that. I think it's more so just a title that was bestowed upon them since they are the highest of the high next to Imu. But the long bearded guy who looks like he comes from Skypiea, like he looks like he could be Gonfal's brother or something, so I'm assuming that he was a defector from Skypiea. I think all of the Gorosei were defectors from some kind of kingdoms, but he's Saint Marcus Mars, the military god of the environment. And also this is going to straight up confirm that we, as we expected, all of the Gorosei names are playing off of planets in our solar system. So then the horizontal mustache bald guy, his name is Saint Topman Walkyrie, which is, Mercury. He's the military god of law. Then Samurai Gandhi finally getting his name after like 20 years of us calling him Samurai Gandhi. He's the military god of finance, and his name is Saint Ethan Baron V Nasu Juro. So I guess V Nasu, it's supposed to be Venus. And Nasu Juro is pretty much a Wano last name for sure, which, like I was saying, I think this all but confirms that he is a defector of Wano. And then we have the younger looking Gorosei. He is Saint Shepherd Jew Peter, like Jupiter, warrior god of agriculture. And he could either be related to Sanji, as it seems to be a popular theory, or he comes from like Water 7 or something, because he kind of looks like Iceberg, I guess. But they're also talking to Imu here, and Imu says that she wants to use the Mother Flame, which is a weapon that was created by Vegapunk, and she's going to use this on Lelusia. And it turns out that she just wants to use it on Lelusia because it's quote-unquote close. Like, I guess in this time frame, they didn't even know that Sabo was near there because they didn't intercept his Denden Mushi signal yet. So I guess it was just a coincidence, or maybe I'm missing something here, but I think they didn't know that Sabo was going there, unless Imu did, using her convenient observation Haki, which she didn't use when Sabo was in the throne room because she was caught by surprise by him. But yeah, we don't want to nitpick with that. He needed to be there for the plot, of course. But this is crazy. The weapon, the 16 laser lasers or whatever that nuked Lelusia is not Uranus, the ancient weapon. We thought that it was, or at least I thought that it was, but it's not. It's a weapon created by Vegapunk, and I think this means that Vegapunk reverse engineered Uranus, or whatever he made is based off of Uranus for sure. Because Uranus is like the god of the sky, so, you know, it makes sense that it would be up there and destroying it the way that it does. And we're going to get more into Uranus and his reverse engineered weapon later, but Imu's also asking for Vivi. So the hunt for Vivi is not over. She's definitely going to come back into play after this. But then we're coming back to Marine headquarters, and we're finding out that some of the other nations are starting revolutions as well, such as like the Aegis Kingdom and the Tajin Kingdom. Two kingdoms that the former characters that we were just talking about in this chapter stowed away on their ships, but for sure this has something to do with Sabo. But in order to deal with them, they're sending the other Seraphims that aren't on Egghead. And yeah, it turns out that they are the rest of the warlords. There's a Daffy Seraphim, which wasn't mentioned in the spoilers. So yeah, finally we're seeing the Daffy Seraphim, which is probably the most popular Seraphim that we haven't seen yet. And then there's a Crocodile Seraphim and a Moria Seraphim. Crocodile Seraphim doesn't look like a girl, but then again, it could be. We did see Crocodile in that sketch of Oda when he drew all of the warlords and significant characters as younger people, as kids. So remains to be seen if the Crocomom theory is still accurate or not. But still, we got the rest of the Seraphims here, so that's pretty cool. They're obviously going to show up later. Then we're coming back to Sabo talking to the Revolutionary Army, and he's telling them about what he saw and what eventually happened to him and whatnot, and how the communication with him being intercepted worked, and how they got to him and why they thought he was on Lelusia. But then he explains to them how it was destroyed by like a huge shadow covered the sky, and then, you know, in the next instance it was completely obliterated. And it seems like Dragon is aware of what's going on here. Now, he doesn't necessarily know that it was made by Vegapunk, but I'm pretty sure that they know it is or could have been an ancient weapon, because Ivankov is like, the thing you saw over the clouds that destroyed the country, assuming that was a weapon of the government, they thought, oh, it could only be Vegapunk that could create something like that. But then they were like, no, wait, Vegapunk wouldn't create a blatant weapon of mass murder like that. And like, he totally would. I mean, obviously he's not evil, but you know, Oppenheimer, which is a movie coming out soon, he created the atomic bomb, and he wasn't an evil guy. He just did it because he wanted to end the war. But you know, after he made it, he was extremely remorseful. But then Ivankov says, then what if it was an ancient weapon? And then Dragon's like, the ancient weapons definitely exist. Robin told us. So yeah, going back to Robin spending her time skip with the revolutionaries, which is conveniently comes and goes in the story and never really mentioned too much. But yeah, I think this is all but confirming that, yeah, the sky weapon or the mother flame that Vegapunk made was based off of Uranus. And if they do have Uranus, they're unable to power it, because I guess they don't have that power source that Vegapunk was talking about that existed during the Void Century, the same thing that powered that ancient robot that we saw at Egghead. So I guess that would explain why they can't use Uranus possibly, if they do have it. Or it is possible that Uranus is still out there and it still needs to be discovered possibly. Either way, they have something in comparable strength to Uranus regardless. But we're getting the huge reveal on Emu from Ivankov here, and somehow Ivankov knows Emu's name, just like how Cobra did. It's so convenient how out of nowhere everyone's just like, oh, Emu, I know that name, even though she was supposed to be like super secret, even just as secretive as what happened during the Void Century, which nobody knows. But Ivankov's like, you just mentioned the name Emu, right? This might sound out of this world, but 800 years ago, among the creators of the world, from the first 20 kingdoms, there was a king named Saint Emu from the Nerona family. So yeah, take that for what you will. We don't really know what it means yet, but like I speculated before, I'm pretty sure Emu is based off of Kaguya from Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. So it's possible that she comes from some kind of celestial race or something, because, and by, you know, moon race, or, you know, one of the orbiting satellite planets around the One Piece world. But going further, Ivankov's like, maybe it's just a coincidence that they have the same name among the celestial dragons who arrogantly claim that they are descendants of the gods. So I guess that's what it means. Emu might be like a princess of who they deem as the god beings, who were probably wiped out originally, and she's like the last remaining member. But going further, Ivankov says, in this world they say there's an ability to make someone immortal, which means someone exists that has proven it, right? Meaning that somewhere in this world there exists someone that can't die. So Ivankov is for sure referring to the perpetual youth surgery, like the ultimate ability more or less of Law's Ope Ope no Mi fruit. And I think this is like confirming what we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years now, and it's that Emu has had that surgery performed on her because she has those double circled eyes. And we've seen those double circle dies on Mihawk and Zunisha and Hakuba, who is like residing inside of Cavendish. So I guess that means that, yeah, they all have the perpetual youth surgery performed on them as well. They are all immortal. Immortal in the fact that they don't age, but I'm pretty sure they can be killed, like if you cut their head off or something. But wow, crazy reveal. And it makes me wonder, like, okay, so why does Mihawk have that other than him paralleling the Dracula? Zunisha definitely has it because he's supposed to roam the earth and fulfill his mission, but why does Hakuba have it? And it's like Hakuba is the true personality, I assume, and Cavendish is what came later maybe. But wow, really crazy development here. Emu confirmed to be immortal, and double ring dies confirmed to be people who have received their perpetual youth surgery. But after that, we're cutting back to Mary Joie, and we're finding out that Mjosgard was executed. And that's because, you know, he was already like being sus among the celestial dragons anyway. He was like, hey, wait, you're not a hedonistic sociopath. You're not like us. Because he kept like hitting Charlos and letting people go and stuff. And the last straw was allowing Sai and Leo to go after they nearly killed Charlos. Like, he should be dead by all means, but somehow he survived because, I don't know, One Piece. But he let them go. And that was like, you know, that's the last straw. So we found out in 1054 that they were sending the Holy Knights after them. And we're finally seeing who the leader of the Holy Knights is. And this guy looks crazy. Now, first of all, let's just look at his appearance. His name is Saint Figurlin Garling. And yes, as you'll know, his head is like a crescent moon. And of course, it ties back to the moon, Emu coming from the moon possibly, sun versus the moon, sun god Nika, Emu the possibly moon princess. Yeah, so like moon bad guys, sun good guys. But also the moon is tied to some good people too, like the Kozukis and the Minks. But primarily it's like bad guy stuff. But yeah, that's primarily what this means. And also, you know, celestial dragon. But he killed Mjosgard. And we're finding out that Saint Figurlin Garland is the leader or the supreme commander of the Holy Knights. And he was the former king of the Land of the God Valley, or Valley of the Gods. You know, the place where Garp and Roger teamed up back in the day to take down rocks. But also that's where Shanks was found. And that's why I'm thinking this guy is straight up Shanks' father, because his name is Saint Figurlin Garland. And the only other time we heard Figureland was in the film Red Movie when they were referring to Yuta. And they were only saying that Yuta came from the Figureland family because Shanks declared that she was his daughter. So that means, by proxy, and pretty much confirming that Shanks came from the Figureland family, which is a celestial dragon. And I think this is finally confirming that Shanks is not only a celestial dragon, but his father is this guy Garling, who is an absolute beast, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it runs in the family, and that's why, you know, Shanks is so beastly, other than him being trained by Roger and everything. But I think this guy is top 5 in the series right now, quite easily. I mean, if he's the commander of the Holy Knights, and the Holy Knights are the highest of the high, probably most likely stronger than all of the admirals, even Aki Inu. This guy is an absolute beast, and he's for sure going to be a huge adversary going forward. Now, they don't have any feats yet. He just killed Mjosgard, who is like civilian level, I assume. But wow, truly incredible developments here, guys. Anyway, going back to Shanks being his son, Shanks was discovered at the Valley of the Gods by Roger in like a treasure chest or something. And, you know, it's not a coincidence that he's saying he was the former king of God Valley, where Shanks was found. Figureland, it's all adding up here. He is for sure Shanks' father, in my opinion. And that's also why the Gorosei is cool with Shanks, because they're like, oh, you're Garling's son and a celestial dragon, so yeah, we're cool with you. But yeah, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, guys. Do you think that this is true? Everything I talked about in this video, do you think it's true, guys? Let me know in the comments. And if you liked it, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.